actually be just 12.5%. That would be very competitive. And China is also creating a free trade zone, as most of you may be aware, in Shanghai. There's a free trade zone in Shanghai now, and it's also very likely to create another one which combine Macau, Hong Kong, and Guangdong province to become a free trade zone. So all of these will result in an increasing middle class and spending power for not just Macau, but every sectors and businesses. As you could see from the chart here, in 2012, there are 256 million households in China in the classification of middle class, and in 2022 is projected to grow to 357 million. And what's also significant here is the upper middle class, and upper middle class defined as annual household spend of 106 to 230,000 renminbi per year will become the biggest segment of the middle class in China. Most of the China middle class would actually become upper middle class. And if you talk about the achievement of any government, I think if there's one thing the Chinese government has done right, is uplifting hundreds of millions of people from poverty into middle class. And what does this represent in terms of urban private consumption? In 2012, the urban private consumption of middle class in China is 1 trillion renminbi. And in 2022, this will become 2.7 trillion renminbi, about triple. And this is the amount of additional spending power you're going to get from all the policies that I mentioned earlier. And another factor to consider is obviously Chinese outbound travel. Based on the statistics last year, there were about 85 million mainland Chinese who have traveled abroad to visit the neighboring countries. And I've done a chart here to show the growth in mainland Chinese outbound travel for neighboring Asian or Asia-Pacific countries, because Russia is included here. Now, the growth rate the highest growth rate is actually in the year 2012 would be Russia and Taiwan. Taiwan, because of the liberalization of facilitated individual travels, and Russia because there's a lot of happening in Vladivostok, and Vladivostok hosted the APEC meeting last year. And if you look at 2013, South Korea has attracted the most growth last year over the 2012 figure. A 53% growth from 2.8 million to 4.3 million, and most of the visitors here actually went to Jeju Island. Jeju Island has introduced a visa-free scheme for mainland Chinese, and they've also introduced a investor immigrant scheme whereby any Chinese who invest $500,000 could get a residency in the special economic zone of Jeju Island. Another big growth here to look at is actually the Philippines. And the Philippines is obviously coming off of a very small base, and we actually think the figures could go higher for the Philippines if the foreign diplomacy is smoother between China and the Philippines. There's a lot of potential there. Other notable increase with Vietnam. Vietnam has also increased tremendously, 34% growth in terms of Chinese outbound tours, from 1.4 to 1.9 million, and this is primarily going to Da Nang Bay, a new resort region in Vietnam, and a little bit to Ho Chi Minh. Another point I would like to make with this slide is, as you could see, the Chinese outbound travel has stabilized in terms of visitation to Macau. Year-on-year growth is just 4.6%, 2012 or 2011. And 10% last year. And I think this would remain about 5 to 10% growth rate until all the infrastructures are built in terms of Hong Kong, Macau, Zhuhai, the longest sea crossing bridge in the world, 27.5 kilometers, the high-speed rail, as well as a new ferry terminal in Taipa, but on Taipa, Macau. All right, that concludes my presentation for this afternoon, and I'll be happy to take any questions from the floor. Please. Go on. Oh, sorry, the mic.
You talked a lot about the economic factors that could or will help Macau. What about the political factors? Do you see any changes on the horizon from Beijing that might somehow impact Macau in a positive or negative way?
I don't think there will be any negative political factor that Beijing would impose on Macau. I know we have a series of negatively perceived bad news, the tightening up of Union Pay. Let me say something about that. For those of us who are familiar with Union Pay policy, first of all, they are not supposed to carry out casino transactions. And that's why there was a lapse in its monitoring and implementation, and that's why come July 1st, they have to be taken off the floor, from the casino floor, from all the casinos here in Macau. My view, the political view of Beijing on Macau would be that of, this would be the model jurisdiction to showcase one country, two systems. The fact that there is massive development in Hengqin proves that Beijing wants to help Macau to diversify its economy and to address the land shortage issue. And Macau government, SAR government, is actually in negotiation to lease a further about 9.8 square kilometers of land from Hengqin. So the territory of Macau would actually increase over time, and with the additional land, Macau will be able to diversify its economy more meaningfully.